What's going on, peoples? It's your boy Will coming to you with another video. So here we go, man. GT12 Prep. I'm getting ready to balance my first GT12 car. I know y'all probably saying, Will, you didn't balance the car? Nah, I didn't. I was putting the car together for a fun class. I ain't going front. I messed up. I'm taking it more serious now. I got my butt beat at the Snowbirds. It hurt my feelings. I felt helpless. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm going out to Apex and racing a good, fast group of guys there. And so now I'm starting to realize it's time to really take this class a little bit more serious and balance the car out. So before you can balance, the first thing you want to do is you want to go ahead and make sure you're on a level surface. Now, for everybody who knows me, they know I live in a truck. I'm a truck driver. So I'm usually balancing and working on my cars from the back of a truck, which is, if you're smart, you know it's hard to do because very rarely you're parked in a level area in a truck. But that's where I'm at right now. So with that being said, I go ahead and make sure I level out. And right now I took time to already kind of adjust this board on this little fold-up table that I got back here, little wooden fold-up table. So I got it level, fore and aft, left and right, and it is balanced. So with that balanced surface, the first thing I want to do is let y'all know that if you look at most of these cars, you have a little hole right here that you use with balance pins to make sure you can balance the car on a pin left and right. So, and if you wonder what I'm talking about, these are the ones I use from Hoodie. All right, see if I can get this in focus. This is a Hoodie balance pin, right? And so I use this to sit the car on top of and get the left or right balance. Now, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised this car is horribly balanced, because I was noticing that when I was driving my car, it never did the same thing left or right, which made it very hard to run against other people that just have better setup cars. I know you're probably saying, why would you do that? But I was just throwing a car together at first. Now it's kind of like, okay, oh wow, that's really bad. Oh wow, damn. I'm doing this live, that's crazy. I'm gonna have to keep this in the video. Yeah, I'm keeping this in the video because I'm a real one. But dang, that's bad. All right, so, sheesh, I might need to just shift electronics over, but I'm gonna see where I'm at with a 10 gram. Yeah, I might use the 10 gram and shift the electronics over. So the first thing I'm looking at right now is, obviously I'm heavy to the right side of the chassis. So obviously the smart thing would be to shift the ESC over, because that's the heaviest component in terms of electronics on the chassis. So I could shift that over. What I want to minimize is I want to balance the car without actually adding any weight. The reason why, because I'm trying to I want to keep the car as light as possible. Now I know some people say in GT12 it doesn't matter. I personally believe if you're running a race car and there's a minimal weight, you want your car as close to the minimum weight as possible. The reason why, I think, because that gives you the ability to do, a couple of things. I personally believe that, power to weight ratio is better when you're running cars of equal power, like equal motors. You know what I'm saying? If I got a lighter car and we're running basically the same power, then my car should, in general, be faster than your car. And so I want to maintain that power to weight ratio. The other thing about it is when you're running a really light car, it allows you to put weight on the car. If you have to put weight, put it in the places that make the most sense to get better performance out your car. So if I can make the movements to the ESC and everything else that'll balance the car out, then I would rather do that. So let's see what happens. Oh, and I know somebody who's probably into pan car probably understand. They're probably saying to themselves, well, Will, you ain't got no wires on the car yet. You're right. I do know that once I add wire, this is going to change a little bit too, because wire has weight. So right now I'm just getting the base of the car set up, and then I'll see what happens when I start adding wire to the car.
A few moments later.
All right, so let's see, with the ESC now switched over, as you see, the ESC is now switched over to the left of the chassis more. I brought the receiver and transponder further over, closer to the line of the back of the servo. Actually, I need to do that better with a pointer. That's kind of messed up. I'm doing it that way. So like I said, ESC shifted, servo. I got the receiver and transponder kind of lined up behind the servo a little bit more. And actually, I could probably bring it further over. Matter of fact, let me try that real quick because I might not need this. Try that because I have a full 5 gram on it. Let's try that one more time. Also, when I do this, what I do is I usually use double-sided tape, and I might take some of the stickiness out of the double-sided, so that allows you to kind of move components around a little bit more, so I get a better understanding of how to line up something. So I'm gonna basically line the back of the receiver. I'm gonna line the receiver up with the servo and shift the weight over just to see what it does. Because like I said, I like to try to, if I can balance the car without adding any weight and it's not interfering anything, like right now the way this is set up, it's not going to interfere with the shock because the shock's going to sit here and it's going to run to the back. It might mess with the wire depending on how I run, but I have a tendency to slant my wire a lot, so I should be able to get the wire to slant around. I want to say about that angle right there that allows him to get all 3 of the motor wires to slant around and still give me room for the power wire to come around. I try to make sure everything's more fluid when I wire. I don't know, it's just my thing. I like the wire. So we'll see what happens when I do that. Let me see, I think I just moved the board. Hold on real quick. Let me make sure I check that. Board's still good. Yeah, board's still good. All right, so now let's go ahead. Got to find the hole. All right, so let's see. That's actually a little bit better than it was before. Before it was just really falling hard. It's still technically off. To be honest, I might leave it this way because I still got to compensate for the wire, because the wire's going to run and then curl back. Because you obviously, anybody who knows, when you have the pod sitting up there, when you have the pod, the wires are going to run in a direction, it's going to curve and come back this way to connect to the motor. So you don't want to do too much, because you got to remember, people forget when they bounce. Some people who do this, or some people who do this, they forget that the wire accounts. You know, that's rubber and copper. It has weight. And so I got to remember, I got that. Then I got let me see what the wire plugs, the bullet plugs that's going to go in here, they're going to add weight to this side of the car also. So before I try to do anything else to get this thing flat, I need to get ready to wire it up a little bit so I can have the wires run in this direction to see how the car balances with that. But right now, the way it looks, I bet you if I take this 5 gram weight right here, it'd probably be really balanced. And yeah, it is. Yeah. It's still a little bit off, but I can tell right now the wire should make up for the difference once I start putting the wire. So let me go ahead and wire this thing up a little bit, and I'll come back to you.
5 minutes later.
All right, people, so got it wired up now. I'm gonna make sure I cut it right, cut the video right, so it doesn't look like I took forever to wire this up. But if you look at it, basically I run the wire obviously curved, and the reason why I did this is because I'm trying to basically simulate what it would be if the pod was connected, and wires are connected to the motor to get the balance. So now once you do that, you go ahead and you start grabbing your pins, and you just want to see if the motor is balanced. I mean, not motor, if you want to make sure the plate is actually balanced. So take my time because I don't want to move the wires. Get all this stuff locked in. Damn. Gotta find the hole. There you go. Find the hole. All right. Is that the right hole? I hope it's the right hole. Okay, here we go. All right, so now do that. And that. And let it sit. And yeah, it's actually pretty close. Let me make sure. Make sure that's not, is the board moving? Nope, yeah, that's right. So yeah, so as you can see, balanced on the pins. I knew to make sure I compensate for the fact that the wire was going to come in around and it had all this. That's why I didn't want to make it too much on this side, because I realized I was going to still have the bullet plugs, the wire, all the wires going to swing to this way on the end, very little. So I knew. So I lucked up, that's even. So now that that's even, the next thing you want to do is you want to balance the pod. Now, I know some people feel like balancing the pod is unnecessary. I'm a firm believer in balancing the pod, because I believe everything you do to make sure the car is balanced left to right helps everything in terms of how your car handles. Balancing the pod, I believe that puts the weight evenly on both left and right wheel, which I think also compensates, not compensates, but actually fixes the problem I see with a lot of GT12s. When you get on throttle, the car wants to veer a little bit. I think once you start balancing that out better, the cars are less prone to do that. So let's go ahead and do this. And we're going to go ahead and put the pod, we're going to go ahead and connect the pod back to this car. And I'm going to show you how we balance the pod.
Longer than a few minutes later.
Okay, now that I got the pod attached, you want to make sure that you don't have the side tubes. So you don't want the side tubes connected. You don't want any of your springs. You want to remove the side springs. The only thing you want connected in this situation with the X-ray is the shock. Now, the reason why it's like that, I know people who use some of the older cars from back in the day, is a lot of times the older pods used to have a balance screw sitting not only here, but here in the front. Well, with this X-ray design, I guess there's no room to really put a balance hole there. So the best way to balance this car will be using the pod itself attached to the car. Obviously, with the ball joint sitting right here, it makes it pretty easy to do that. So place it up here. I got it on a pretty high car stand. This is my off-road car stand from Hoodie. I'm using this one to kind of exaggerate it a little bit so you can get a better feel of what it looks like. So now what you want to do is you want to set the pod to right where it will be centered, and then let it go to see which way it falls. And as you see right now, this one's falling to the left. So to balance that, you want to play around with weights. You want to use the minimum amount of weight you needed to go ahead and balance the pod. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over exaggerate. I'm gonna go ahead and use a 10 gram first, which I know should, at 10 gram, leave it okay. That's sitting, but that might be a little bit of the actual pod. 10 grams does keep it. Let me see if I can go a little less than that though. Got a 5, because I think it's tilting to the opposite side also with the 10 gram a little bit. Not enough, but if I hold the pod steady to center and let it go, see, it's not falling. So I should be able to get away with that 5 gram, and I'm using a pretty thick double-sided tape on there, so it's a little bit heavier than 5 gram. So let's see real quick. Let's make sure. Just make sure I'm gonna go ahead and put it dead even again without the weight. And yep, falls to the side. Falls to the side. But if I take the Hoodie 5 gram weight and even play with where I stick it, I might want to pull it a little further out to the side, closer to the side tube. I mean, not the side tube, to the side link. Level it out real quick and let it go. It's not falling. So now that's a balanced pod. And you also, when you balancing the pods and stuff like that, man, you want to try to make sure you use the minimum amount of weight to get it done. Because in GT12, I'm still trying to minimize the overall weight of my car. I think right now the rules is nothing less than 730 grams. And me personally, I like to stay as close to the minimum weight as possible. Give me room to do whatever I gotta do. So if I can balance this car the best way I possibly can without having to add any weight, I will. But in this particular part of the car, I had to balance the car. I had to add some type of weight. And I'll just let you know it's different. So it's not always 5 grams. Right now, this is a Trinity X Factor. I have an R1. I have an R1 21.5. And I also have a Motive 21.5. So I know that I have to pay attention to what motor is actually in the car to determine what's needed. Now I do know for sure with the Motive, I can use 5 grams. So that's normally what I run when I run Motive in my 13.5 car. I have a 5 gram weight. Well, man, actually no, I'll take that back. I think it's 6 grams. It might be 6 or 7 grams on the Motive on that side. So it's just it varies depending on the wines too. So, but no, actually no. Wow, that's crazy. Nope. Yeah, it's 5 grams. Because actually could be a little bit more than that, but I think I'm using thicker tape. This tape's got some weight on it, so that might be helping out on this part. But that's not a here or there. The whole point is, you got to balance the pod, add a little weight to that side, and it keeps the pod flat. And I think that actually just helps enhance the handling characteristics of the car, because now the same amount of weight is touching both tires, it's pushing down. You're not just depending on the springs to do the same thing. The car's already doing that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the next step to get this car prepared. Let me go ahead and get everything set up, and I'll get right back to you.
Much later.
All right, guys, so now let's see. So I got the car back together, okay, wired up nice. The next thing we want to do is you want to go ahead and do the entire chassis. You want to see how the car balances with the entire chassis now, because you already don't balance the main base, you don't balance the pod. Now let's do the whole thing. So put your pins on. Grab your rear pin, and let's see where we at. There you go. That is balanced. So you balance the front part, balance the pod, and once all that's done right, the whole car should be balanced. So that means you got equal weight going down. Now, obviously, you got to do your other things, like you got to make sure your tweak springs, and you got to get your tweak section with your springs down packed to get that even better performance. But I mean, this is a good way to start your car. This is always gonna be a good way to start your car, is having the car even left to right. You can't get better than that, man. In the end, man, yeah, this is RC, but dude, it's a race car. That's it. It's a race car. And all race cars are balanced.
Lesson for whole life. Whole life have a balance. Everything be better.
So why wouldn't you do the same thing when you're spending all your money to get this car and get out here, and then you want to compete against competition? Because I guarantee, if you're not doing it, I guarantee there's somebody that is. Okay? So that's the end of this video. I really appreciate you guys, checking it out. And please understand, I understand there's guys of greater skill and know all this stuff, and they probably like, man, what can Will teach me? You know what I'm saying? I beat Will all the time. That's cool. What I'm trying to tell you is, when I make these videos, it's for everybody to get faster. In other words, I'm still learning. I've been in the hobby for a while, but I'm still learning. I don't know it all, but I'm still learning. And I'm great that I've never burnt any bridges in my entire RC history, so I'm still friends with pretty much everybody for the past umpteen years that I've been in the hobby. But as I'm learning to get faster, every time I learn something, I have no problem trying to share that, because I want us all to get faster at the same time. So again, thank you guys for coming in and checking out the video. I'll give you some more updates when I get back on my GT12. I think the big thing for me now is, now that I got this car disbalanced, I think I want a new set of tires so that I can run a new set of tires to see how the car finishes out. Because I don't pretty much did the other tires in. I'm probably going to have to true those down a little bit to get them even and use them as tires for another, or practice tires or something like that. But I think I'm going to go ahead and try to make my trip back to Apex or even Soda City or somewhere else that runs GT12 and just put this car on the track. But like I said before, thanks for watching the video, and check you out on the next one. Peace.